My dudes, have you been looking for a thermal but don't want to shell out $2,500 to $4,000 for one? Well, I have this one here by DNT that's under $1,000, and this is a 3-in-1. It can function as configured here as a primary. We're going to get into it, but first, if you think 2013 was peak social media, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Gentlemen, welcome to the XXL Dude channel. We have a treat for you today. So let's go ahead and get our disclosure out of the way. We're going over a thermal scope done by DNT Optics. It's the Hydra HS225 model, Thermal Optic. 3-in-1 is what they're touting as. DNT Optics reached out to us and asked us if we would like to review the optic, to which we definitely said yes. No money exchanged hands, and at the end of the review process, we will be either A, sending the optic back to them, or B, purchasing the optic at a discounted price. So they're not giving it to us either. They just want our opinion and honest review, and follow along to see if whether it's a buy or a pass. You're going to notice that the size is very, very comparable to like a mil-spec PVS 14. It's not a big giant chonker. And on the website, it's touted to weigh 13.1 ounce. So that's a pretty good, that's a round LPVO weight. So that's something to keep in mind as, adding it to your weapon system. It's going to be about like adding a LPVO. With all that, you have your charger, you have your optic, you have like a cleaning cloth, and a whole host of tools and things to do your mounts with. Flipping it over on its side, you're going to notice a power port. Something cool, a really cool feature. It does have an onboard memory system, I think 32 gigs if I remember correctly, and it will record, like it basically is a camera, a thermal camera in the guise of a scope, right? And so when you're looking in there, you're looking at a screen. You can set it on to have recoil record. So when you take a shot, it'll record, I believe, a little bit before the shot and then the shot. It makes it perfect for, people that want to record taking their shots. So you have multiple ways to pull them off there. You can download the app and download it from your phone, or, if you're kind of old school like me and would rather put it on a computer and whatnot, you can just plug in here. It uses like your normal USB-C connector. I want to make a quick note here. When you're using the DNT app, you also have the ability to live stream your feed, like what your thermal is seeing, because it is a camera after all, right? So keep in mind the possibilities that open up with running security, doing things like that, streaming it back to HQ or a buddy that you're in the field with. Having that ability is kind of a game changer, so keep that in mind. So you'll notice across the top it has 4 buttons, your power buttons. All of these buttons have double functions. I'm not going to really call it a con. I'm going to say that it takes some time to get used and just kind of play around with it. Just know that there's like a whole host of menu options in there. It's got a whole host of reticle systems or reticles and, bullet drop compensators, which is pretty cool. I do want to note that this optic, the lower end model, like this, the entry level model, it starts at a 3X. So it's a 3X, goes to 4.5X, 6X, 9X, all the way up to 12X. So 3X to 12X digital zoom. It has 4 different color palettes. We have iron hot, white hot, black hot, and then also red hot. I typically use red hot for a lot of different identifying things during the day. Iron hot does pretty good as well, but the red hot picks up better. And then at night, I really like white hot. Kind of reminds me of the old Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare 2, the OG ones, not these remakes, but the AC-130 look or whatnot reminds me of that. But it definitely helps when things are cooler at night, especially on these summer days. We're going to talk about this from the Minuteman aspect. That's what the channel's about, right? We're mostly about blue collar, Minuteman, affordable, everyday gear. And that's where this thermal comes in and shines. And I'm going to give you just a brief overview of it and why I like this and why I think it's applicable for a Minuteman or prepared citizen. And let's get the big elephant out of the room, right? It's hard to hide from thermal, day or night, as you could see from the video there with me shooting with the clip-on. That was during the day, obviously, and I could still make out the target perfectly. So it's very hard, and so that's why I feel like this is if you're a prepared citizen, if you're looking to have every advantage there is, I think a thermal is something you should look at, and I don't feel like a lot of people that watch these YouTube videos appreciate that. They don't appreciate the situation because I think that they're oftentimes tossed out of the market, and that's what I'm trying to bring to you here. We were blessed enough to get sent this just to try out, and I definitely think there's use case here. This thing does what you see very well. Is it a FLIR Gen 3? No. I mean, but look at how much something like that costs. This thing, for what it's intended for, mainly hunting, the most dangerous game, if it has to come to that, right? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? And you're going to be able to pick up any kind of mammal heat signature. That's one of the most applicable reasons for a prepared citizen or Minuteman to get it, and to have something at this price point that will mount on your weapon platform is just astounding. Sure, in the future they probably will get cheaper. They actually dropped the price during my review of this, but you should have your eyes on something like this, especially if you're building up to a platform like that to operate at night. Like, having thermal would give you the ability to outdo night vision in certain circumstances.
Show me them guns. The other guns. Ew.
I feel the people that would find this most valuable would be those in the varmint, not, hunting community. Hogs, varmint, and not necessarily just not. Like, a lot of the footage that you see was shot during the day as well, not just night. That is the number one, use case that I can see this optic, and it's certainly geared for that as hunting. But let's talk about some secondary things, because this is not, let's face it, it's not really a hunting channel, is it? Another good use case, I feel like, is somebody that is in some type of position, that they're looking for people. So call it, public service, like search and rescue, law enforcement, just to have it not mounted, but using it to try to find somebody. If you're looking for somebody, you're searching for somebody, searching for heat signatures, definitely a good use case there. And then let's go with the fun scenario, the prepared citizen. This thing has a whole host of, I would say, security, like using it just solely for security, not even for offensive roles, like posting up somewhere and using it just to kind of confirm if you thought you've seen something or if something's coming through. Having that, that thermal option is a game changer. It's a true game changer, because you can notice if something's alive or has body heat out there, and you can kind of make the shape out. And this comes in at such a great price. Having a really good sale right now where I want to say it's sub $800, which is just crazy for a setup like this. So let's get into the functions that it had. So number one, we're going to talk about as a primary optic. So mounting this, I mounted it on my little 300 blackout build that I was also kind of in the test out phases, and thought it'd be pretty cool that I had this Chonkin micro reflex sight that by ADE that I've had for years. I threw it on a 45-degree mount and, put it on there with the optic, and it just kind of blazed and worked beautifully. And the auto zero feature did a really good job. But then, 300 blackout ain't cheap. Let's just go ahead and talk about that. It's not a cheap round. So I'm just now dipping my toes into it, and it's in the concept phase with this PDW that you see here. And, just buy it online, because at $1 a round, I couldn't just go out and blaze rounds, because, you know, we would be upside down pretty quick on, you know, video production costs. But it did really well. So like having this auto zero feature and shooting it, you know, not having to put, you know, 5-round shot groups down range really helped out. It really made a difference, especially for more expensive rounds like this. And I feel like this use case for this optic as a primary would be on something like this setup that I'm running here, a suppressed 300 blackout, and then, you know, having a offset dot, and the dot also has night vision mode. So a good use case here is for somebody that is wanting to expand their night vision, you know, capability. Like maybe they already have a good like Psionics Aurora or a PVS 14 or binos. You know, there's a whole host of night vision out there. So maybe they already have analog and they want thermal for PID, whatever. And it's a good option. You know, I could see somebody running this with a PVS 14 and swivel it out of the way and be able to run it on the gun too, just to confirm. And this thing does pretty good during the daytime. Like you can see here, I'm shooting it during the day, and it does awesome. So don't think you're just restricted to only using thermal at night. There are some downsides that I'm going to cover more on thermal on a later date. Maybe they said they could extend for people wanting to use these longer. So hopefully we can kind of extend and go over thermal a little bit more as an overall platform, but we're just reviewing this optic for now.
You got to be careful shooting 300 or shooting with a single point sling suppress, because when you let it hang, it could come over and get your leg. I almost had that happen by letting it drop. So you want to definitely control it whenever you're going to let it hang out.
So we're going to get into everybody's favorite thing, especially whenever I posted this setup on Instagram as a clip-on. This thing does pretty awesome. They also sent out this additional mount that kind of just makes it, I forget the MOA, but it basically has it lower. It sits lower. And so I had to use a riser that I had laying around just to kind of get it up even with the end of the LPVO. You can kind of see here. And they sent this mount that's right now, it runs around $95. It's on sale for $89.99. I just want to be clear to note that you do have to purchase this additional mount. It's the ADM. It's a QD mount. It's made from another company for DNT on this. It mounts into 2 of those little holes that you've seen on the bottom. And I had to use a riser to get it to meet up with the Vortex LPVO. And doing that, it did pretty good. Now, you may have to play around and tighten this thing up, and I'll note it here. So the interfacing with the Vortex Optics Strike Eagle LPVO does really good. Like putting it on there, I can run it up to about 3x or 4x before it kind of gets kind of grainy and distorted. And I just leave using this as a clip-on or whatnot. At the ranges I was shooting, I just left it on the base 3x. When you turn it on, it's at 3x, and you can go all the way up to 12x, but at the 3x, running the LPVO, you know, at that 3 or 4x, it's a pretty good sweet spot, and I would be pretty confident making hits out to about 300 yards with it. And I would have to actually go out and do it to say yes beyond, but very comfortable within capabilities of the 5.56 round that I'm using here.
So this is our setup, the rifle setup that we have for the Vortex Strikefire 1-8. We have our Hydra HS225 from DNT Optics mounted on here as a clip-on. I couldn't really get anything in the scope here, like just where we're at, and it's hard to get a camera to focus in and see how it looks through the scope, but up until about 3x it looks great. Looks really great. I like it. It's a heavy setup, so you're probably not going to be rolling humping this through in this configuration because it's heavy to get the rifle up and move around. But as far as a static position, it does pretty good.
So the caveat with running a clip-on your rifle overall, just as I discussed, I'm not going to fault DNT for it. You know, you can't make something that doesn't weigh anything. You just have to be conscious that running this all the time or doing dedicated, like mounted to your rifle, it's going to add that much weight, and it can make a carbine, you know, rifle unwieldy, in my opinion, especially going through the woods. I like that their mount is QD, that I can take it off and stow it in, you know, a protected pouch and only break it out whenever I need to. That keeps it, out and away. Nothing can happen to it. At the end of the day, it's like night vision. It's got a certain delicacy to it, and you only want to have it out whenever you need it. So with that, and that's more, again, this is not on DNT. This is just more on the platform of running it as a clip-on. But say if you're posted stationary, running it off a tripod or something like that, hey, okay, my use case for this, I'm going to be more stationary. It's kind of harder to just free-handed shoot, with this kind of weight on there as a clip-on. So the last one we're going to talk about here is running this as an observation device. And I feel like this works really well. Can you run it on a helmet as not? No, not with the 3X. It would just be a nightmare because everything would appear closer to you, like way closer, 3 times closer at that than what it really is. So keep that in mind. It's not something you're really going to mount to a helmet. I mean, I guess you could do a dual setup to observe from far away, but that's the way I look at it. Is not like an active walking use device, but a good observation device, just like we talked about, like say search and rescue and law enforcement. You're looking for somebody, you're securing your property, you're conducting a property patrol, and you're in an overwatch, and you can just kind of look out over the horizon or scan the field or whatever to see what kind of critters and creatures are out there and maybe watching you. Dudes, I know you're probably wondering why I put all these crazy captions in here. It's because of YouTube's advertising policy on monetization with thermal. The TLDR here is I have to put those because it's been a lot of work to get this video out to you guys and be able to post it. And I had to put those. It's the only way I could post this. But XXL, dude, what's your conclusion? So to conclude this out, at the price point for just an observation device, no. The other two are worth the price of admission. As a primary thermal and at a primary clip-on, yes. I think they're definitely worth the price and being sub $1,000 because most of them are around the $2,000, $2,500 mark. So to get 3 in one for, let's call it under $1,000, that is worth the price of admission in my opinion. Like there's a lot of cheaper ones down there that are lower resolution, not quite as good, that you couldn't really rig to work on as a thermal clip-on, because once you got it to the rifle, it still would look grainy whenever you're magnifying it. And this actually looks good under scope magnification. So that, to me, just as a thermal clip-on makes it worth it. But being able to pop it off and make it, a dedicated weapon system set up with a thermal optic, for predator hunting, security patrols, whatever you want to say, it set up on there, especially with a suppressor and subsonic, it just makes it a perfect combo at that price point. Because I know people that do a lot of varmint hunting at night, and man, they throw some money into some of these setups. And so to offer something like this at that price point, they will tell you that it's awesome too. So if you have the liquidity to pick something like this up, I'm going to say it's definitely a buy. Is it, do you must you run out and grab one right now and throw it on there? No. But if you're already building toward that platform, that is definitely going to be something that you need to look at. So that's a buy for me, dog, for sure. And so just to close this out, what I want to leave you with is it's hot out there. It was hot while we were filming. Make sure you stay hydrated. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I earned a subscribe, maybe even a little like on it. Comment, tell me what you think about this setup, my setups. Tell me if they're fire or if they're trash. Let me know. And this is XXL Dude telling you that resistance to tyranny is obedience to God.
What do you think? Better with the suppressor?
Yes.